Hi, guys. Welcome to Weekly Travel Updates. I'm your host. I'm Melinda Fargus, and I own Action Travel here in Burlington, North Carolina. And it is November 3rd. Man, we have lots planned for November. But let me tell you what went on today. You see this picture? This was a tower explosion near the Colosseum in Rome today. Um, there is signs of life, so they are still trying to get rescue workers to trapped workers that's under the rubble. It was under renovation. It was a 13th century castle, and the Pope of the 13th century built it for his residence. Anyway, it's really near the Colosseum. I'm sure that you will see information on it, and I dropped a link down below. Well, this is what we're looking at this week under weekly travel updates. Let's see. I wanted it bigger. There we go. Okay. Today, November 3rd, is not just a day for weekly travel updates. It's also National Housewife Day. Happy Housewife Day, Maya. And it's National Sandwich Day. And it's National Accessories Day. Da-da-da. I wore rings and bracelets. And it's National Jellyfish Day. Be careful in the ocean. They really hurt. And it's Natural Japanese Culture Day. And it's starting the second month of the government shutdown. And that's causing us problems. Well, I watched lots of things because, last Monday we were talking about Melissa and what it was going to do to Jamaica. And it was the strongest storm on record to hit Jamaica. I have watched, just heartbreaking video of the different parishes and what they've suffered. They call it their bread basket, where they grow a lot of foods. It is underwater, or it was underwater earlier this week. It's just so bad. I feel awful. The deaths are up to 29 in Jamaica. Then it went to Cuba. I don't have a count there, but in Haiti there were 25 killed. The damage continued up into the DR and into the Bahamas. I was proud that Samaritan's Purse from right here in Greensboro, North Carolina, in the center of North Carolina, was one of the first jets to go out, one of the first humanitarian jets to go out right after the hurricane. We're almost at the end of hurricane season, and it's been a bad one. 3 Category 5s, and we haven't had a Category 5 season that had 3 in it since 2005. So, worse than anticipated. I'm also looking at winter predictions, and they're saying less snow than normal. Well, dang, we are already get hardly any anymore. Not anything like it was when I was growing up. Okay, well, let's go on to what is going on now. So I told you about the Rome Tower. Well, another tragic incident happened in Rome this weekend. A 69-year-old man was feeling dizzy, and he sat down on the wall of the Parthenon, and he fell off and died. and his daughter was there. There was no foul play, but Rome is in the spotlight right now with things going on. So let's go over to the lineup for Action Travel. What do we have for you? Well, first off, if you have interest in going to a SANDALS resorts, SANDALS is the adults only properties, no kids, only couples, and we have a new sales rep. His name's Andrew, and he wants to do a SANDALS night. Well, you have to have a private invitation. So part of the November Fest and festivities, besides tonight, is on the 13th. It's my birthday. And he said, what do you want to do for your birthday? And I said, hey, let's do a sale. So that's what we're going to do. But you have to send me your email to get the invitation. And if it's like it was a few years ago, the invitation invited you to a Zoom, and when the Zoom was complete, anybody who attended the Zoom were eligible for discounts of up to $250 off per person. We gave a choice of $250 spa credit or a catamaran cruise, or there were several choices. So that's what it looks like, but you must send me an email to get the invitation. You have 12 days, because we're not going to announce it until, or he's going to talk to me on my birthday, and then we're going to pick the date for it. Okay, guys. I was really shocked. I was looking for travel news stories. I usually start Friday, and I did not know that 2 iconic states were flooded this weekend. On Thursday, the Halloween Eve, New York City and all through New Jersey were flooded. They were inundated with rain. I heard reports from 2 to 4 inches within hours. Well, New York is not prepared for something like that, and it's all asphalt and cement. So where does the water go? Down. It went down into the subways. Subway trains stopped. I watched videos of people standing with the subway doors closed, and the water was rising against the doorwell. I mean, up to 14 inches of one door, and just, squirting a tiny bit through the door. It would be terrible if that door had opened, because then it would flood the subway. It was knocking people off their feet. Kids were getting out of school on Thursday afternoon as the floods were rushing down streets and sidewalks. I put a link so that you could see some of the destruction. I was really surprised. Then we have Thanksgiving towards the end of the month, and that kicks off, the season towards Christmas. So right now we have a little bit of time before Christmas. If you have shopping that you need to do, or if you want to give a travel gift certificate, reach out to me. I love to do those. Well, we have a lot of people coming this year for Thanksgiving to our home, and we're going to cook. I'm going to cook. Can you believe that? If you have a favorite recipe that's not too hard, please send it to my email. I really would appreciate it. Let's see. We're just past Halloween, and you know how I told you last week that in Mexico, they celebrate the Day of the Dead for 3 days. Well, it was not the greatest for a mayor. The mayor, it's a West Coast municipality, not near any tourist areas per se, but he was a lawman who stood up to drug cartels. He had been threatened. He had threats on his life, But during the Day of the Dead festival, he went out into the plaza with everybody else, and he was shot in cold blood. They rushed him to the hospital and had to pronounce him dead. That was terrible. Let's see. Let's go to, not that one. I told you about the sandals, that Andrew wants to do this. You have to be signed up. You can connect with me through that QR code that's over in the corner, or you can send me an email. I'll give you my email in just a moment. But I know that we have people who have interest, because I have probably, I don't know, a dozen couples who go every couple years. So I'm reaching out to all of them. All right, let's go to, I tried to make this cool for you guys with photos. All right, I am appalled by this story. There is a small ship, an exploration ship, the Coral Adventure, that was at the Great Barrier Reef. And one of the excursions that they offer through their adventure desk was to Lizard Island. That's a picture of Lizard Island and the beach behind these words. Anyway, an 80-year-old Susanna Rees was taking part in a 60-day cruise around Australia. And it was on the second day of the trip when she went with some of the passengers to Lizard Island. And it's the highest peak on Lizard Island. They were hiking, and she wasn't feeling very well. And they told her just to hang back, not worry about trying to keep up. Somehow, 5 hours later, they realized they have left this lady on the island. 5 hours later. No one realized she didn't check back in. I don't know if you've ever been on a cruise, but you know how you go through and you have to check in. You have to put your card in. Anyway, it is going to be a real battle of what happens here. The daughter blames the cruise operator for her mom's death. And today, just days after this is announced, the cruise line has canceled this 60-day cruise. All passengers are getting a refund, but they're canceling it. Well, I mean, would you feel safe after the crew left one of the passengers and that passenger passed away? I think not. Then let's jump over to Barcelona. They made a record this week. They now have the world's tallest church again. The Sagrada Familia in Barcelona is now the world's tallest church. It will stand. It's right now at 534 feet tall, but it just surpassed the next tallest church that's in southern Germany. And while it's still under construction, the final count will be another 50 feet taller than this. On the left side is a picture of looking up into their spires and the stained glass that's there. I'm telling you, it was under construction when I took Trey and he was 7. So it's been under construction every time I've been to Barcelona, but it has really reached a milestone, and I congratulate them because it is a beautiful, beautiful structure. I hope that they could finish it, or at least the outside facade, because next year is Gaudi's 100th birthday. And I just imagine Barcelona having all kinds of events. That would be a great year to go to Spain. Who's up for that? Let me know if that interests you. Okay. This is how you reach me. I put my email. I put my phone number. That's my personal number. So you had to make it to the end of this video before you got it. But, you know, a lot is going on. The shutdown is really causing challenges. Just today, Raleigh had 30 delays. Charlotte had 55 delays. And PTI had 3. Greensboro is much smaller. It's an incentive to fly out of Greensboro, guys. But these are because TSA have fewer checkers to go through TSA. So they're working with a smaller staff, as is air traffic control. And what they're saying in the major airports, like LAX, shut down. They had a ground stop this weekend. A ground stop means nobody flies, everything stops. There wasn't a crash. It was too much for the air traffic controllers to handle. I don't know if you've ever been to Los Angeles, but having lived there, I can tell you, even when I left 30 years ago, the business is 35 years. So 38 years ago, there was a plane that landed at LAX every 45 seconds. I bet that's now could be down to every 30 seconds because it's done nothing but increase the size of the airport and flights in and out. Anyway, what we fear is these delays will stack up. So if you have flight plans for the holidays, flight plans in the next few weeks, I suggest taking that early flight out. If that flight's canceled or delayed, they're going to put you on the next flight, but you're going to have priority because you were on an earlier flight. So make that a priority. I mean, places that are already having problems, Los Angeles, Nashville, Newark, all 3 of those had ground stoppages this weekend. Nashville. Well, I guess it's because, it's a popular time to go. And because it's a small airport, maybe even fewer air traffic controllers. I don't know, but I just see this really increasing. Go and check out some of the details that I shared with you about the thunderstorm that went through New York City. You'll be amazed. It broke records from 1917 for the amount of rain and flooding. The flooding was into the subways. They did not get many routes open until just before sunset on Halloween night. There were flickering departure signs at both airports, JFK as well as LaGuardia. The Hudson River overflowed and it went all the way into New Jersey with tons of flooding issues. You really should look at this. I can't believe that we didn't see more of it. Of course, what I surmise this to is like after Helene happened here in North Carolina, many of my friends in California and Arizona knew very little about it. It was a bad storm. It was a hurricane that went through. They had no idea what North Carolina actually suffered. So I encourage you to go check out the record-breaking rains and floods that hit New York City last Thursday night. And they had to get everything ready because they had the New York City Marathon this Sunday on Staten Island and from Staten Island to Central Park. So they did make sure that 55,000 runners could make it, but it was a lot of work. And meteorologists insist that this has nothing to do with Melissa, because Melissa was on up in the north by then, but they insist that's not it, that it was a cold front coming down from the north meeting an Appalachian warm front. And when they collided, it had thunderstorms that lasted for hours. Well, guys, I hope that you appreciate this. If you did, please like this and share it with others. I am trying to rebuild Action Travel's followers as well as the YouTube followers, because my 4,500 followers, they were lost when I got hacked on Facebook. So I appreciate the support, and thank you very much. And I look forward to talking to you next time. Remember, without a travel agent, you're on your own. Ciao.